And last when we spoke, we were talking about episode 3 because the main plot hole areas is Time Zero and episode 3. Still, episode 0, 1, 2 runs rather smoothly. 4 is just, oh god, padding. And 3 is where it really goes wrong. And 5 is, again, I feel that, they did episode 5 and 1 because as we discussed, after the video, which we probably should have saved because it would have been for better discussion.
Yeah.
Those
are the most complete, for want of a better term.
Yeah. When we're not recording, we always say profound things.
Yeah, always the way.
Yeah. Anyway, it was like it feels like they did episode 5 and 6. The boss gauntlet rush. The ending of the game and the beginning of the game first, because those feel the most complete. Then they made it to episode 2 because they're gonna work to, because that's how you do in story writing. For those that aren't sure, if you're gonna make a good story, write the ending first, then the beginning, and then think to yourself, how do I get from the beginning to the end that I've already written? And then you go from there. And then they made episode 2, which is fairly complete and very nice. And then you get to episode 3, where they stop showing cutscenes, and which is 2 chapters long if we don't count the boss gauntlet, not boss gauntlet, arena. And then we have 2 chapters in episode 4 if we don't count the boss.
And
that's
then
not very much.
30 minutes of closing credits.
Yeah. It's just big plot dump in the end, and again, all the inconsistencies happen in this is where they really start to pop up in episode 3. Not just the time skip, the very jarring time skip, but the whole Cray was supposed to be a boss because they mentioned that I know, and we've mentioned this several times now.
Yeah.
That Cray, they're like, oh well, Cray turned into Twisted. Aya shot him, and now he is dead.
All kinds of wacky crap happened. You should have been there. It was fantastic. Oh, right.
Exactly. And just I'm not going at the plot right now. I'm going at my gameplay, and mainly because it's insane mode in the Reaper and it takes forever. But no, if it was the plot, I'd be screaming. That's something entirely different. But I won't scream because it destroyed the recording.
And I like having eardrums.
Yeah, that too. That would be nice to have. Yeah. And there's all those inconsistencies, so you get the feeling that they had more planned. And while it does feel like a Frankenstein plot that's been stitched together, it's just they probably had to do this due to the whole thing where they had a budget and a team size and a release date, at least scheduled release date, according to a mobile phone game, and then halfway through they decide, let's make a PSP game instead. Ooh, that doesn't bode well, really. Like, again, it just feels like they skipped a ton.
See, one of the other things that really annoys me about this game, there's a lot of potential in here for, well, maybe not greatness, but you can see where...
If they had made it its own title, not used Aya, and they had made it its own sort of, what's it called, universe.
Yeah.
There would have been a ton of potential.
Yeah. See, one of my biggest pet hates when it comes to games like this is games which you can see that there's a lot that they could have done, and there's the occasional moment where you feel like the game's just about to fulfill, fulfill its potential and fulfill what you know it can be capable of, and then every time you think it's just about to reach it, no.
No,
not gonna happen.
then they turn a 180 and then they go the other way.
Yeah. Like it's too much effort for them.
Yeah.
And, you know, honestly, there's a lot of potential in this game. You look at it and you think, yeah, you know, if they'd have done this slightly different, if they spent a bit more time thinking this through, fantastic.
But it's
game
always
could have been
easy
had.
to do that in the, you know, once something's been done, then you look back, what could have been done better. It's always easy to do that.
Yeah, in the final analysis, it's always easier to say what could have been,
Yeah.
rather than what have we got.
Yeah, and again, I can't fault them on their budget, because their budget really wasn't big enough to support even a PSP game.
Yeah.
Mobile phone games are very short, tiny, and in my opinion, fairly crappy compared to other games.
Yeah, as I've
But,
said,
you know, they fit on a mobile phone.
as I've said, from what I heard, originally this was supposed to be sort of like a top-down Gauntlet-style game. Again, no idea if that's true. Wouldn't surprise me if it was.
Well, the thing is, they that was probably the original design plans, maybe, but they ended up making something like this, and then they were like, maybe we were a little too overambitious, and instead of waiting for mobile phones to evolve for this game to be released on them, let's just make a PSP game.
Yeah, I mean, really, you could see this being or showing up on an iPad or an iPhone,
Yeah,
the way it is right now.
but they'd have to they'd still have to wait for the iPhones to evolve enough to be able to support this kind of
Yeah,
graphics, and sound, gameplay.
yeah. Like I said, it just annoys me that you can see so
The
much potential in here.
And then it's wasted potential. Again, if they had, I think the whole point was, you know, going like, we're making a sequel, is the trap that so many other people fall into, or rather game companies fall into. If they don't make it a sequel, it's not going to catch anyone's attention. And if it is a sequel, they'll always cock it up because they started making one game and they never intended to be a sequel, and then usually they just change it to a sequel last second.
Yeah.
Oh, and he grabbed me, and no, I overdone. Actually, I never get to show that. Oh well.
Maybe in yet another bonus video.
Maybe. I don't think so. I really hate fighting the Reaper. I hate him fighting him that much. It'd be quick to show off, but I can't bring myself to it.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a jerk. No, it's just, oh, this game. It has good game. I can't fault it on that.
Yeah,
I can't fault
I'm pretty
it on
sure.
the UI. I can't fault the gameplay. I can't fault the music, the graphic.
Yeah,
It's just only the story you can fault it on.
yeah. Everyone in the thread has pretty much agreed that in terms of gameplay and presentation, yeah, the game's about as good as you could ask for. It's just everything else that it does. It
Yeah,
does
yeah.
badly, and for a lot of people, myself included, you know, that counts for a lot. I mean, good gameplay is great, but personally, I always like to have a good storyline to back it up.
I like playing games with really good story,
Yeah.
and then fuck the gameplay. As long as they can get the story told really well, because I'm really playing a lot of these games for the story.
Yeah, I mean, I have played through some absolute crap just in order to get the next part of the storyline.
I mean, that's the whole reason why I picked up the Third Birthday. I just saw it. I kept getting like emails from Square Enix because I was signed to their newsletter, and then they'd be going, "Hey, Third Birthday! Hey, birthday! Hey, Third Birthday!" And eventually, I just caved in and said, "Okay, what is the Third Birthday?" And then I read it was like alien monsters from the future traveling back in time and eating us, and then traveling more back in the time. That sounds interesting. Sounds like it could be a good story. And I didn't know it was like Parasite Eve, so you know, already there I was kind of hooked. And again, I guess you kind of say with this game they were aiming for a newer demographic that didn't know anything about Parasite Eve. But I'm not really a newer demographic. I just ignored the Parasite Eve franchise.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fair enough. It's been, what, 10 years since the previous game in the series?
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah, understandable why they would want to... I mean, that's one of the few times I can say that a reboot would be acceptable. I mean, I hate the term. Really.
Yeah, reboot and reimagining.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand why they would want to do something to update the game, because it has been out of the public eye for so very long. You know, they need something to remind people.
Yeah, in this day and age, I don't think tank controls are accepted widely.
Yeah. I mean,
if you look
personally,
at
I would have liked it if they'd have gone for something more the way Resident Evil 4 went. You know, that
only with RPG elements and parasite powers.
Yeah, I mean, that for me, that would have been the next logical step.
Yeah, but no, this director, he is convinced that. I mean, he seems almost obsessed in his interviews that he wants cinematic shooters.
Oh, get bent.
Yeah, I've heard plenty of people say that before. I've even what was it, the first Fear game? The interviews with the developers, they're like, oh, we want as a cinematic first-person shooter as possible, right?
Yeah.
That's just, well, what makes it cinematic? I wouldn't really say this is cinematic.
Yeah, as like I've said in the previous videos,
cinematic in theory would be crap to play, but awesome to watch. That's how cinematic works.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've said in the previous videos. Games can do something different to the what movies can do, what books can do. You know, you can draw the viewer in a completely different way, and you can involve them in a completely different way.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, movies are a passive experience. Books, unless you're reading a choose your own adventure, are a passive experience. A game, you are part of the story. You are the hero. You know?
Or you're playing someone who is the hero.
Yeah. You know, they should be trying to focus on that and take the best bits from games, say from movies and books, rather than trying to shoehorn games into another
cinematic experience. Which, I mean, it is fun and nice to watch and all, but I'd like to play a game too.
Yeah, games are.
Games you buy to play, not to watch.
Games are interactive.
Yeah.
You don't really interact much with a movie.
No. Unless they did what Metal Gear 4 did with the jiggle physics and you shake the controller.
Yeah. And
that was sad.
That was, shall we say... It was debatable how much of a success that was.
Yeah.
More than that, and I'm likely to start a gigantic war in the thread. I'd really rather not do that.
I mean, again, a game that's cinematic, I'd say, is more something like Final Fantasy 13. Complete crap to play. Well, it's got some good parts. You just gotta get to the very ending of the game and have won it, and then you unlock all the good stuff, which most people didn't even reach, because you're being tutorialed half the game anyway. But but it's entertaining to watch because it's flashy, it's pretty, and it basically plays itself for you if you want it to.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny how people can look at Final Fantasy 13 and say, with a completely straight face, no, don't worry, it gets better 35 hours in.
But the thing is, it's easy to say with a straight face. It does!
Yeah,
in fact, if you get to the very ending and win it, and you get all these special, ridiculously hard bosses unlocked, optional hunt things from 12.
Yeah,
I mean, then the combat is actually really good for once, because then you have to think about what you're doing and trying to think of a right combination of different things, the right equipment, and so forth. And I know you shouldn't have to say that, but it really does get really good. It's just a shame that it wasn't that way, like that, the entire way through.
Yeah, because it just really annoys me how, and the fact that gamers as a whole, we've gotten so used to this, we're accepting of it without question.
But that's because we know deep down inside, everybody knows this is how the game market is. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
Admit it. The
it's
game
depressing.
market is. Just look what happened to Square when they got bought up by Enix, and then they made SquareSoft through not SquareSoft, but Square Enix through a merger. A lot of game companies, and I mean a lot of game companies, Westwood, etc. They made overambitious products that didn't go so well, and they ended up losing a little too much money. And then other bigger companies who are direct competitors in one way or another go up to them and say, "We can help you out. You just have to sign this contract. You have no choice, anyways. Otherwise, you're screwed."
Yeah.
And then a lot of people like went down the drain, and because of this, well, people, and including the economy scare, because of this, people have been a lot more cautious with their game making, meaning they're aiming for the broader audience. They're basically, I hate to use this term. I won't use the term dumbing down. Streamlining everything because they want to get hit as broad as a majority as possible. Because people expect more from games these days. They expect more and more and more. And as the graphics get better, people like take Diablo 3 as an example. Diablo 3, people were like, "Holy shit, they didn't use like hyper-realistic X OMG graphic number 950 for this one generation that they built it in."
Yeah, well,
and they actually
for
stylized the
Diablo 2,
graphics.
it was more, there was colors beyond brown.
Yeah. It's
it
like they
everyone was
stylized
saying
the
it
graphics.
looks like a My Little Pony threw up on the graphics.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like they just stylized the graphics. For God's sake, do you complain about the same thing when it comes to a Mario game? No, you don't.
No, people just complain that it's the exact same thing we had 3 months ago.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you stylize your graphics. And to be honest, this is the graphic style that Blizzard has had for God knows how long, all the way from Warcraft 1 when they started out. And if you look at the Lost Vikings, Warcraft 2, but more or less all of their games except for StarCraft 1, it's pretty much had this sort of stylized graphic style, if you will.
Yeah. To be honest, I prefer heavily stylized graphics because
it allows
realism reaches a point where it just starts looking stupid.
Yeah, grays, browns, grays, browns, grays, browns. Yes,
Yeah.
concrete jungles are exciting.
I mean, if you look at games from like 5 years ago, top of the line graphics,
And
the
and
last
thing
word
is,
on realism, and they just look so quaint.
and when you that's something I was about to say. When you make your game to look as realistic as possible, yeah, now it might look awesome, but it won't age well, the graphics, because we'll look at the game 5 years later and we'll go like, "Holy crap, this is ugly."
What the hell were we thinking?
Exactly.
Whereas if you look at something like Killer 7 or Okami, which are heavily stylized, they still look amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, Okami in particular it's still easily one of the best looking games, not just
Of
on the
course,
PS2, but I'd go as
I'm
far
not
as to
saying
say
people
it
can't
looks
go for-
fantastic compared to any console.
I'm not saying people can't go for a realistic style and then stylizing it a bit. I'm just saying it's a really bad idea going for something like Call of Duty number 550, where it has to be as realistic as possible looking, and it just ends up looking brown and gray and brown.
Yeah.
Because that's basically the colors rock and dirt is, and that's kind of the things we have in society when we build cities.
Also mud. Don't forget the mud.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a given when it's a war battlefield, because I don't think the grass is going to survive a cannon shell.
It might do. Could be
I
some kind
don't
of Chinese
think so.
supergrass.
No, it won't. But still, it's just. And again, people probably give me flack for defending Diablo 3's graphic style, but we all know you're all gonna purchase it anyways, so screw you. And you know what? It's just. And games are developing where they're getting more streamlined, and the only place you're going to find niche gameplay is people who can afford to make it, and that's in indie games. Otherwise, the main big companies, they spend a lot of money in these games because people expect so much from them these days. They have to spend so much money that they have to streamline it. to even as broad of an audience as they can, if they're ever going to make any money back on this investment.
Yeah, the market's just become too bloated in many ways.
Yeah.
But we're just gamers. We're just dealing with the end product. At the end of the day, we don't really know shit.
No, that's the whole point. I mean, we got investors, stockholders, publishers, game developers, and
Middlemen,
PR, commercials, and the list just goes on and on. And they have to spend a lot of money making a game. And nowadays, and then you're like going, oh well, we need a physics engine, so we're just gonna buy the license for Havoc, and then we need a game engine too to run it on, and then we buy a game engine, and then we need to pay our team, and it's a lot of expenses. Lots of millions of dollars down the drain.
Average cost for developing a game, I think I remember reading, was somewhere between $5 and $10 million.
Yeah, and not to
And
mention
that's
that it takes
not
about
even for a top level title.
Yeah, top level titles again is like 6+ years for the most part. And
It depends.
and
I mean,
the
Final
thing people,
Fantasy 13
yeah.
was, but that was massively over budget.
Yeah, and then there's things like we go into like let's just say Diablo 3. Again, this is an example because it's recent. Everybody knows about it right now, and I know if people will watch these videos 3 years later, they'll be going, "Okay, what the fuck? Diablo 3 was
dated, so
awesome
dated.
or bad, or however the game turns out to be." But here's the thing. And I've lost my train of thought, but I got it at the tip of my tongue.
Just talk amongst yourselves. But
Oh, here it was. Let's talk about it. Anyway, here the thing is, when you make a game that takes 6+ years ago, and people complain, let's just say that the graphics is dated in a game. This is one of the arguments too. They're complaining that the graphics is dated for Diablo 3. But you also have to remember the game's graphics was starting to be developed like 6 years ago. So, of course, every game that comes out is going to be dated graphics compared to what the latest graphic is that you can make nowadays. It's always going to be dated. And besides, if we ran games on the latest graphics, we kept changing it to run on the latest graphics every single time, we would never finish our games. They would never be done. Just look at Duke Nukem Forever.
do we have to?
No. But I'm just, stating that Duke Nukem Forever never got finished because they kept like, it wasn't awesome enough because now we got newer game engine, powerful computers. Now we can do something completely new, and then they made it over and over and over and over again.
It doesn't really help that 3D Realms also spent, the better part of 8 years sitting around playing World of Warcraft and jacking off the entire time.
Pretty much. Yeah, they tried being a publisher, but that didn't work out too well either. They did publish Prey. I did like Prey, but that was mostly because mindfuck physics and stuff. And really, I'm surprised that nobody called the Portal out on ripping off on Prey.
They were doing it
Because
slightly differently.
But still, I bet if Prey came out after Portal, that everybody would be going, "What the fuck, man? This is like a Portal ripoff," because Portal got so massively popular. How much do you want to bet that's how history would have remembered Prey as?
Yeah, it kind of helps. It kind of helps that Prey. Not that it came out before. Really, more that it wasn't as big a deal because Portal pretty much came out of nowhere.
Yeah, Portal came out of nowhere, and so did that Reaper. Oh well. But yeah, no, I thought it was a good game as far as mindfuck with the physics.
I picked it up for about £2 brand new.
Huh.
I can't say much for that.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was decent enough. But no, I got the game brand new for £2 and then randomly got the game guide for it for about 10 pence. in
Game
the same
Guide.
shop.
Whoever buys those with the internet?
I buy some of them mainly because I like the art. I mean, more and more they're
Collector's
becoming
edition.
more and more they're becoming combination art book and guide.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you try to compete with the internet, and it's like you're losing a battle because people have already written like a million FAQs that are way better than what you wrote.
Yeah.
And I've even noticed they started doing like video game guides that you pay online and then you have access to video versions. You know what? Which is probably the way they're gonna have to go if they're gonna want to even make any money, because then you actually have visuals.
Yeah, I mean they've started selling them on they started selling them on Steam a while back, but apparently the take up for them hasn't been too great.
No.
But then
I
again,
can't
they're
see
selling
who's
them for
buying
like £20,
Yeah.
where you can go and get it off Amazon for like 12.
Or you can go on the lookatgamefaq.com and get it free. But
Yeah.
we're getting to the final stretch here, so let's not stretch out the commentary too far. I hate myself.
Yeah, well, you're the one that's always going and taking too long in these videos.